Coming up, they're back with a vengeance. Bedbugs. So, what happens if they've infested your holiday accommodation? Now, in our last series, we reported on a really horrible subject, that of bedbugs in hotel accommodation abroad. But I'm afraid now, and I have to tell you, I'm itching at the very thought of it, the problem is rather closer to home, because those pesky, unbearable critters are now hitching a ride back to our own shores in unprecedented numbers. And that means, and yes, you've guessed it, even if you're on holiday in the UK, you could find yourself sharing a room with some of the most unwelcome bedfellows. Now, they're not the sort of guests anyone would want to share a hotel bed with. They hide in your sheets and then they come out at night to feast on your blood. And if they get into your luggage, well, you could end up taking them home as a souvenir. Yes, it's the dreaded bedbug, which, as we reported last year, seems to be making a big comeback.
We started seeing the bugs coming out from the headboard and the sockets and behind the pictures on the walls and everything again. And we just said we can't stay in that room.
Tracy Lorenz told us how her holiday in Fuerteventura was absolutely ruined by them.
It was really itchy, covered in bites all up my arms and my legs. I had bites up my face, in my ears, where my face was on the pillow, across my back, my front, literally covered in bites.
I'm so itchy already. Now, in the 1980s, bedbugs had all but been eradicated in the developed world. But now, I'm afraid they're on the rise again. And it isn't just on holidays abroad that you might come across them. New infestations are reported in the UK every single week. Now, Dr. James Logan of the London School of Tropical Medicine is one of the country's leading experts on the pesky little devils and knows all about the rise in numbers.
We found that there was around a sort of 30% increase in bedbug infestations every year. And it's probably due to a number of things, including an increase in people travelling. And that might be contributing a little bit to bedbugs getting spread around the country.
And it seems they've spread to all kinds of different accommodation, as childminder Nikki Martin found out after a much-needed night away. Her children, Evie and Alfie, had been so keen to go camping, but worried about what creepy crawlies there might be around a tent, Nikki wasn't so sure.
The children really wanted to go camping. We've camped before in the garden and they really loved it, so we wanted to venture out somewhere a bit further. We tried to get out a lot, we ride bikes and quite outdoorsy. I've never really liked camping that much because of bugs. I'm a bit of a, bugs climbing in your ears and stuff when you're camping.
The family eventually agreed on what seemed a perfect compromise: glamping, a more luxurious way of being close to nature, which in this case meant camping in a wooden pod and a front door to keep unwanted insects out.
Glamping for us was perfect. It meant that we had the best of both worlds. We could still have electric, we could lock the door and still be outside.
Nikki booked one night in a camping pod at the Billing Aquadrome Holiday Park in Northampton.
So we finally went ahead and booked it. And then every day the kids were saying, "Is it today we're going camping? Is it today we're going camping?" And then when the day finally came, they were just really excited.
And as soon as they arrived, the fun began. Fairground and bike rides, campfires, even toasting marshmallows. And a great day ended with a much-needed night's sleep. Or at least, that was the plan.
We'd been in bed about 10 minutes before Alfie then started complaining about being itchy, and we just thought he was sweaty because he'd been playing so much football with his friends and not had a shower. So we didn't really think much of it.
But when an hour later, Alfie still couldn't sleep, Nikki's husband Keith swapped beds. And soon he found that he was being kept awake as well.
Keith felt really itchy and he thought it was just in his head. Like when people talk about nits and stuff, you just think, oh, you feel like you've got nits as well. He said he could feel stuff crawling on him. We put our lights on and realised, and that's where we saw them all. And I just wanted to cry.
Awful. Now, it became apparent that everyone's skin and bedclothes were crawling with bed bugs. So Nikki started filming using her mobile phone to record the extent of the infestation.
I started to take photos of the bugs that we could see on the duvets. There were bugs crawling on the children's faces and all on Evie's pillow with her hair, and it was horrible. It was horrible to see.
In a panic, Nikki and Keith decided to get out of the room very quickly and put the kids in the car, but some of the bugs went with them.
I could hear the kids screaming because they could see something, So then I went back into the car and the duvet that I'd given them had still had a bug on it, so I just shook it off, and by that point, when they were in the car, I was just thinking they're just everywhere. I just can't get away from them.
After calling the emergency number at the holiday park, the staff did come to investigate, and after confirming that the pod did have a bed bug infestation, it provided the family with alternative accommodation.
I then just started crying, and Keith just hugged me and just said, "Don't cry in front of the kids, because it'll worry them more." It's just awful to hear the kids crying, and we just both felt really bad. We felt really guilty that it was supposed to be fun for them and it had just turned into a nightmare.
The next day, the family returned home, but Nikki says the car, bedding and clothes were still crawling with bugs, so she followed the advice, which is to wash garments and linen at a minimum of 60 degrees to kill them.
One of the first things we did when we got home was just put everything in the wash, all our clothes. For boil washes, we left them out the front until there was space for them. Even after we'd washed everything, I still found a dead bug when I was folding up the clean washing. And there was also one in the suitcase that we had all our food in. We fumigated the car, we sprayed all our luggage, all our suitcases, but even when we had washed stuff, I wasn't completely confident that it had all gone anyway.
To be completely assured that they really were rid of the bugs, Nikki decided to throw this lot away.
We threw away about £500 worth of belongings, airbeds, bedding, kids' cuddly toys. Some things, even after we've washed, I wasn't comfortable that they were clean.
Since returning home, Nikki has used social media to make it known that she was not happy with her experience at Billing Aquadrome. And after doing so, she was contacted by another family who said the same thing had happened to them.
So I've actually had a message from a lady that stayed in the same pod as us a few days before. We stayed in that pod for 3 nights. The next morning we woke up covered in bites. I just feel really sad for her that they got so many bites.
After complaining to the Billing Aquadrome holiday park, Nikki was refunded the £42 cost of the one-night stay, but she doesn't feel that makes up for the terrible experience.
I can't believe the cleaners had never noticed that there's bed bugs in there. So it's left me feeling really angry. I feel angry that they can keep their pods in that condition and that think that that's acceptable, because it's not. I'd never go back there.
We asked pest control expert Peter Bauer-Davies to have a look at Nikki's video footage to see what he made of it.
That's a pretty bad infestation. Based on temperature and the availability of food, it's looking like that's probably been there for 6 to 9 months. The insects that we're seeing are just the ones that are on the surface. Bedbugs are the world's expert in hide and seek. They've spent hundreds of years learning how to hide. So what we're seeing on the surface is just what is coming out and can't actually get into the places that they can hide because there's so many insects in there. This is something that we come across quite regularly. A simple inspection by a pest controller or even a housekeeper should really have spotted this early on.
Now, detection is one thing, but the financial cost for a business to tackle an infestation can soon mount up.
There is a huge cost of bedbugs to the hospitality industry. If you look at an average hotel with an average infestation, it will cost them between £5,000 and £10,000. That's made up from treatment, lost rooms, negative publicity. It really is a huge cost to the hospitality industry.
When we spoke to the Billing Aquadrome holiday park, it told us it sincerely regretted the inconvenience suffered by Nikki and her family. It says it acted immediately to upgrade and refund her and to call in specialist help. It added that despite entertaining hundreds of thousands of guests, that this had never happened before, and that the experts had helped to do everything it can to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
So Alfie, do you remember this? You had bugs on your face.
Did I?
Yeah.
On my face, yeah.
On your face, but Mummy and Daddy never told you that.
But back at their home in Bedfordshire, Nikki and her family will take some persuading to try camping again, even at the glamping end of the scale. As the saying goes, once bitten, twice shy.
It was like something out of a horror movie.
The worst part of it for me was seeing the bugs on the kids' faces and feeling awful that we'd put them in this. It was supposed to be a holiday, and then we just felt guilty that we'd put them in this pod full of bugs, really.
Later in the programme, we'll hear how holidaymakers may unwittingly be bringing bed bugs into the UK And as we'll see, Peter and his team use sniffer dogs to hunt them down. We'll have everything you need to know about keeping those dreaded bugs at bay.
Still to come on Rip Off Britain, how man's best friend is on the front line in the battle against bedbugs.
So the dog has taken Adam forward into these seats here. You can see that the dog's working all over the front of the seats.
Earlier in the programme, we heard how one viewer was sharing her accommodation with bedbugs. And it seems the tiny little pests really are back with a vengeance. But help is at hand. There's a whole industry springing up to deal with the problem. And front of the queue to tackle it are some big-name hotels and airlines. So meet the sniffer dogs, fighting to keep the bugs at bay. You might assume that this emergency response team has been sent to search this plane for explosives. In fact, they're looking for something else.
There we go.
It's not bombs they're sniffing out. It's bedbugs. Charlie the Chocolate Labrador is on the front line in the war on bedbugs. He's one of an army of sniffer dogs deployed across the UK to tackle the rising number of infestations. And handler Peter Bauer-Davis says companies that use dogs like Charlie are much in demand.
We've probably seen a 50 to 100% increase in inquiries through us for the use of our detection dogs and our eradication methods for bedbugs, which does indicate it is a rising problem in the UK.
And it's aeroplanes that have played a key part in the recent rapid spread of bedbugs. In many cases, they'll have hitched a ride on someone's bags or carry-on luggage, and they can spread fast in close proximity to other travellers and their belongings. This plane is a disused one in Leicester, so it's the perfect place for dogs like Charlie to hone their skills picking up the bug's very faint but distinct scent.
One of the reasons why we're doing this training exercise on an aircraft is because bedbugs will get anywhere where people are spending a number of hours sleeping, resting, not just on the bed, but trains, aircraft, buses.
Inside these containers are hundreds of live bedbugs, which will be placed on board the old plane for the dogs to find.
So what we're going to do is go up onto the aircraft, hide the 3 samples, give it a couple of minutes to vent and let the scent start to rise, and then let the dogs go and search.
On a plane, bedbugs will find a number of hiding places within the fabric of the aircraft, under the headrest, and even within the magazine rack.
This is a favourite place for the bedbugs due to their attraction to CO2, which is what you breathe out, especially when you're asleep. So all the samples are now out and we're ready to let the dogs come on and find them.
It's time to unleash Charlie to see if he can find the little bloodsuckers. He's been doing it for over 7 years, so this should be a walk in the park.
So the dog has taken Adam forward into these seats here. You can see that the dog's working all over the front of the seats.
Charlie makes a beeline straight for the back row and seems to have sniffed something out.
There he is. He's just located the sample and he's got his reward, which is his tennis ball.
Bedbugs may be small, but thanks to his nose, Charlie has no problem finding them. Pest control companies like Peter's are routinely employed by airlines to check the planes currently in service. If they find bugs, the airlines use various kinds of heat treatment or chemical pesticides while trying to keep their planes on the ground for as little time as possible. But Dr. James Logan from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine says it's usually down to us that the creatures got on board in the first place. So it seems we're all to blame for the booming bedbug population.
One of the things about bedbugs is that they're incredibly good hitchhikers. So they're designed to be able to cling on to us, to our clothing, and hide there, or in our luggage. So if you've stayed in a hotel, for example, that has a bedbug infestation, or you might even have one in your home, you can quite easily take one of those bedbugs with you onto the plane. They come out in the plane, And, you know, planes are full of nice little crevices and cracks that they can hide in, so it's a perfect place for them to sort of have a bit of a stopover.
So, time to get up close and personal with a bed bug. Look away now if you're starting to itch.
So, you're willing to do this? Yes. You're happy?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. I've got some hungry bugs here. They're male. Do you have a preference for which bug? We've got two here.
I don't mind. That one looks good.
So, if you can roll your sleeve up, what we'll do is we'll just pop this bed bug on.
The bugs are drawn to human blood and can consume 3 times their own body weight in a single feed.
Do you feel it when they bite you?
I know it's happening because I can see it, but I don't think I can feel anything.
Okay, so it's kind of like psychological, yeah. Because the thing about bed bugs is that when they bite you, they produce saliva, and the saliva contains a sort of anaesthetic and an anticoagulant. So it stops the blood from clotting, but it also means that you can't feel it, which is why when you get bitten by hundreds of bed bugs in your bed, you don't wake up and you don't know about it until the next day.
Sneaky. Fellow scientist Lucy has no adverse reaction to her new friend, but some people will suffer painful and itchy rashes as a result of an infestation.
A lot of people, including myself, you know, I react really badly to bed bug bites, and my bite would come up straight away. I'd know straight away that I've been bitten by a bed bug. And then over the course of about a week, that bite on me turns into a bruise. And, you know, if you can imagine, if that's just one bite, if you imagine being bitten, you know, hundreds and hundreds of times by bed bugs across your whole body, you know, that could be really quite severe. So some people are not quite as lucky as you are.
Meanwhile, aeroplanes aren't the only part of the travel industry where the services of sniffer dogs are increasingly being required. Today in Wimbledon, a dog named Basil is putting his bedbug training into practice. He's visiting a hotel, the sort of place that could be not just a perfect breeding ground, but the start of a bedbug's travels.
Hello, maintenance.
Seacon.
Basil will work his way around the room. We allow him to lead the search because his sense of smell is so acute. In this sort of a room configuration, we would expect, if there are bed bugs in this room, for it to be surrounding the headboard and the bedside cabinets. It's only around 10% of infestations occur on the mattress. The rest of the infestation will be bed bases, headboard, round skirtings, light fittings, etc.
Basil hasn't found any bed bugs here, and he'll return in a month to check nothing's changed. Because for the owner, Jay, sniffer dogs have become a vital part of keeping a hotel clean. He knows how much damage an infestation could cause.
It would affect the reputation of the hotel because customers could easily put some bad reviews on, review sites, TripAdvisor, whatever, and that can have a knock-on effect for future business. But more importantly, immediately, we would have to close out or shut down. And then the financial cost of placing or finding accommodation for the guests that are affected could run into 3,000 to 5,000, as well as the closure of the hotel. So it's a situation that you really do not want to face.
So when you go on holiday, how can you be sure your hotel is bug-free?
One of the telltale signs is that they produce a smell. So once they've fed on you, they will poo. And they quite often poo on your bed sheets, but they will also poo back in their sort of safe refuge when they get back into, behind the skirting board or under the mattress. So if you can smell a sort of musty smell in a hotel room, there might be bed bugs there, but also look out for little brown blood spots on your bed sheets. The chances of seeing the bugs is very slim. You might see a dead one, or if you're sitting up with a torch at night, you might see some bugs crawling around, but they only come out at night.
But there are simple ways you can minimise the risk of taking any bed bugs home with you. In a hotel room, the best advice is never put your bag on the floor from where they can easily climb into it. Keep it on the luggage racks and fully zipped up. And on a plane, one tip is to secure any carry-on luggage you might put under your seat inside a plastic bag. Although, of course, with any luck, those sniffer dogs will have already made sure there aren't any bugs around. And back in Leicester, it's the success of ongoing training like today's session that could determine if your future holiday will be free from the menace of bed bugs.
So we finished the training session, it's gone very well. The dogs have been successful. And Storm, the operational dog, has had a tremendous find actually in the infrastructure of the aircraft. So all in all, I'm really happy it's gone very well.